Afyia Smith, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. What has you waking up excited these days?
I don't know that I can answer that without giving you the backstory. We know each other, Brad. We're old friends, and
Yeah.
my background looks different because I'm in a different place. My son Chase, he's 16, and he's receiving some medical treatment. So this is kind of like a medical leave, which is requiring us to relocate to Tampa for
Whoa.
an unspecified amount of time. So what that
Wow.
means is I'll have to pack my shit up, my dog and my kid, and move to a place I've never lived, in an Airbnb that I've never been in, on a block I've never lived on, and just all of the new things. So, long story short, what has me waking up excited is every day I've chosen to explore a new part of the town and drink a cup of coffee in a new coffee shop. That's just what I've been spending my days doing. So I'm excited today after I hang out with you, try out this new coffee shop they have. They do experimental coffee with a little bit of, you know, good stuff in it. And just, I don't know, hang out and people watch, I guess, until it's time to
Wow.
go get my kid.
Wow. That
Yeah.
that is huge. That is you
Yeah.
just described. It's just like sometimes there's new chapters of a career, or sometimes there's new chapters of life. Or Chase is 16. Oh my God!
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like because he wasn't 16 whenever
Yeah.
we first met up. So there's these different new phases, but it sounds like you're just getting a mega dose of
Oh, yeah.
new all at once.
Yeah, so the other new that I think you're talking about is newly separated from Epic Games, which I was
Okay.
there for a few years. And so I'm navigating the career waters or wherever that might take me, but also life happens. I knew for maybe 6 months to a year that I would eventually have to do this thing.
Yeah.
This is by far the hardest, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. And I think that was part of the fear. And then Epic kind of just like, let's call it a blessing in disguise. It really just forced my hand. I
Yeah.
had to do it because medical is running out,
Yeah.
right? And I need it to care for my son. Also, I'm free of time. I no longer need to worry about what's going to happen at work if I need to take
Yeah.
a medical leave or,
Yeah.
I didn't want that spotlight on me. And yeah, I don't know. I think the very next day that when I knew that, maybe Epic was, no longer, the future for me, that I decided to just go ahead and make the arrangements to care for my kid and just come on out here.
Wow.
And here
Wow.
we are, and I don't know how long I'll be here, and that's part of the anxiety/excitement.
Yeah.
Tampa's a cool city. It's an old city. It's walkable, which is not, it's the opposite of Orlando. We don't walk anywhere. And I've just been exploring, and my dog loves it because we're in a development. She's got a yard. She just hangs out there. I walk her now 3 times a day. I've got the time to do it.
That's
And she
amazing.
loves it. And I kind of love it because seeing people, seeing faces, and getting some fresh air and exercise, and it's great.
You're explaining this very well, which is it's like there's obviously, a backdrop of multiple dimensions of kind of hard, but at the same time you're describing an attitude of leaning into it, embracing it, being curious, being exploratory with it, and kind of being open to the idea that even though this is kind of a what's in front of you is unknown, that there's almost a bit of I'm hearing like a trust in that kind of unknown a little bit, where it's like you're just gonna be on this journey and you're in a particular place right now, but you also know that you're moving forward and just kind of
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the other.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, because the opposite of that is just being extremely just boxed in and worried and
Yeah.
scared and nervous. And I can't move in fear, you know. I need to have some optimism about the future, even if that means just going through it day by day. In the past, and maybe even still, I had tons of anxiety about, I would make 5-year plans and year-long plans and what's going to happen next month and next,
Yeah.
I did all of that. But the very freeing thing that has come with just like the ending of things and the beginning of things is just that. It's no longer what you knew it was.
Hmm.
It's new enough to not know what it's going to be. And
Yeah.
you're living in that limbo land, I guess,
Yeah.
just figuring it out. And I'm proud of myself, I want to say,
Hell
because
yeah. As you
it's
should be.
different. Yeah, it's a different person than, than I was even, I don't know, a year ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of effort that goes into cultivating that attitude that you're describing there because the anxiety and the fear, obviously they're still there. They're still present,
Yeah.
obviously. Like whenever you're going through hard things, there's no getting around it. And I think that that's like something that I've seen a lot in my own life and people in my life is that they're just like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I like so, you know, freaked out by this? Like, I should be okay with it. It's like, well, all of these things exist and they can coincide, but it's kind of like what do you want to sort of focus on or prioritize or let in? And it's
Yeah.
like the anxiety and the fear, if you could keep that at like a low hum, but let more of the curiosity and exploration and what's next and the optimism kind of be the thing that's really kind of driving,
Yeah. Those are
that's
the
good
motivating. Yeah.
because flipping that around when you don't let a lot of that in, you then feel almost silly or guilty for feeling optimistic
Um,
or hopeful or anything like that. And I've seen that, and it's genuinely tragic because like
yeah.
people are just like in that space, and they're like, I don't want to be here, but like it seems almost trite to even just kind of like let that hope in. So it's like you really got to like go all in,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you need to do that important work of like the seesaw of like kind of getting over that teeter totter of like it's coming more on the side of optimism than it is on the side of
Yeah.
the fear and doubt.
Agree. Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. So
So,
yeah, so you're in this very important moment in time. You've historically done a lot of different, like how I know you as one of the rare souls who actually cares about documentation
yeah.
and sweats the details on this stuff that has always just kind of been in the back burner for so many people. It's just like a low priority. And this particular moment in time, is this like your like kind of I told you so moment?
Yeah, I'm like giggling in the background with the evil grin. No, yeah, just said it to you. Docs are having a moment now,
Yeah.
with all this, with AI being part of the tools that we use are entering the workflows. So to sum it up for those of people that are listening or watching that don't know who I am or what I do, I'm Afyia Smith, and I am a design systems practitioner, but I focus almost exclusively on documentation, writing it, managing it, publishing it, creating the structure that supports it. Um, Docs are the things that I love to do. And I do that for design system teams. I did that for Epic for about 5 years. And I've, done some independent consulting along that way. Brad, that's how you and I know each other. Today, docs seem to be by far one of the most, well, a very important or foundational piece of design systems, especially design system teams that are using AI or building AI with it, all of that good stuff. It's no longer just like this nice to have thing anymore. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. So yeah, that's the work that I've done, and that's the work that I'm interested in doing and continuing to do, and of course push it further. I think I'm no longer in that, oh, it's AI, let's just automate everything. I'm not in that phase of it anymore. I'm thinking about what can we do that's possible that we couldn't do before.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of experimenting and exploring while I was at Epic, and now I'm doing that on my own and figuring things out.
It has to be pretty validating. I think it's like all of your kind of hard efforts to date of just kind of like sweating the details, spelling things out, defining the things, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden, like this is
Yeah.
immensely valuable. This is actually what makes these systems you know, accessible to these agentic systems, and
Or
like you're able to articulate, here's what this does, here's how to use it, here's what not to do about it, and all of that stuff. And I've been iterating over our own system, but kind of pointing it at our own sort of tools and stuff. And boy, oh boy, it's like been lacking in that department. And so it's been a really fascinating adventure to go, okay, how do I tell the story of how I want these UIs to come to life and all of that stuff? And I need to like have words to it, and I need to make sure that the structure is in place and that it's like easily accessible for the human beings that I'm working with as well as for these like machines. And so that there's been like all sorts of really fascinating things, because what humans read and what is helpful for them and what like the agents need in order to assemble and compose things are sometimes like different. It's almost like a different vernacular or dialect or something, but it's still at its heart, it's just natural language describing, here's a button, here's what to do with it, here's an accordion, here's like what that is. And as you've been on this journey dabbling in agentic stuff since pretty much since like ChatGPT kind of hit the scene, how you see that progression and like kind of like where you see the arc going in your own craft and just kind of in general.
yeah, so like I said in the beginning, especially in the beginning of ChatGPT days, we were what was the possibility of AI as it relates to documentation?
Right.
Yeah, so generation, of course, faster generation, more docs out there. I gave a talk about no one's reading docs, no one's writing docs, and I talked about the blank page and how ChatGPT can kind of be used to move non-technical or non-writers to a place where they can start to draft their own pieces of
Yeah.
documentation. And that was great. That was a great phase to be in. And then, slowly it started to be like, okay, the more I do this and the more that I teach people how to do this and the more that ChatGPT can do this, what am I doing? Who am I? What is it that I need to be thinking about now? And, from that point, I started to kind of think about the things that couldn't be done before. I talked a lot about that whole just-in-time docs process where, designers and devs, they're in these tools and maybe they want to surface information when they need it and they can't because it's sitting somewhere in a static reference site that no one knows about. And started experimenting with how AI could help with that. And did a lot of exploring and got some parts of the way there. But today, and even just over the past few months and my last few weeks at Epic, I started to think more about like, what documentation needs to provide in order for not only the humans to read it, but the AIs to consume it. So we're writing for different audiences, humans, designers and developers, new users, onboarders, people that need to be onboarded, leadership, stakeholders, all of that. And now the robots, the machines,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Is that like 20 pieces of docs? No, I don't have the time for that. I was the doc lead at Epic for two design systems. I was not writing 20 different pieces of documentation. I was starting to think about a single doc that could be served up to all audiences, AI included. And that's just about structuring it. And if we think about the layers of that, it's the context layer and then the implementation layer. I call that knowledge layer that AI needs not only to know what a thing is, but why is it this thing? The intent, the reasoning. Why couldn't that be done from a single documentation? That is
Yeah.
what I'm exploring. So it's a docs first kind of thought or
Yeah.
a docs first method. I don't know. Docs first for design system teams? Why not?
I yeah.
Why not? I think docs have not had the importance that design and code has had for quite some time. It's always
Yeah.
just been like left to the last or not done at all or just like
Yep.
absorbed by like a UX writer, which, grateful for the UX writers, but this is not that. Let's not automate it away. Let's keep the humans in their jobs. I am, by the way, a proponent for human authorship, for humans in this work. But yeah, I'm hoping that Or I'm wondering if there are folks out there, teams out there, orgs out there that are thinking about it in the way that I am. And this is my plug. If you are, I'd love to chat.
Yeah,
Here I
yeah,
am.
yeah,
That is the
yeah,
work that I'm interested in doing. I don't know,
yeah.
Brad, what do you think about all
Yeah,
of
no,
what I've
I
just
well, you turned over a lot of stones there, and I think that they're all really good. And boy, oh boy, has that I'm guilty as charged, where it's just like we do the work, we talk about it, we design it, we build it, and then kind of like the cherry on the top is like the documentation, like before you like kind of get it out the door. That has been kind of the workflow kind of in the before times. And then
Yeah.
I think like what you're describing and what kind of where I'm seeing a lot of like the industry shift, and our friend Kevin Coyle has also been like beating this drum for a while and stuff as well, where it's just like, oh yeah, here's, you know, these kinds of requirements, and we're just kind of articulating using words what it is we want this thing to be, and the specific implementation, right? The specific design, the specific like tech implementation is just that, is an
Yeah.
implementation of it. So it's like you have to get down to some pretty existential truths about kind of what is this thing, what are like the objective facts of this thing, but then what you're talking about is that this kind of context layer that kind of sits behind it, where it's just like, oh, here's in the context of this organization, here's why this kind of matters. Somebody that's
Yeah.
a new hire that just got onboarded, or an agent that's trying to assemble these things into a piece, or whether that's a new agency partner that is like trying to understand, get their bearings working with this system. That specific perspective matters, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where these LLMs are quite good at translating some things that feel sturdy, durable, true into something that is like contextualized to them and their specific context. And that for me has been like super duper welcome in so many realms, where it's like I don't have to just go read some stuff and then have my brain have to do a bunch of different laps to bring it into my specific world. I could instead just say, here's what I have in front of me. Here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I need. What do I need to know in order to do this properly? And then it tells a coherent story. Like it weaves it into my context. So it's like, it's this really beautiful kind of blend or marriage of like, here's these kind of just inert objects, these UI elements that don't really do a lot on their own, but it's really
Hmm.
in the context of how they get used, where they come to life. And the docs is now this really kind of beautiful mortar that kind of like glues it all together.
Yeah.
Is there like a threshold being crossed where writing the docs primarily for agents first, and then like humans as like kind of a happy byproduct of that?
And I did some of these experiments over at Epic because I just for myself wanted to understand how AI ready was the docs. Like what I had a hunch that I was writing some pretty good docs to begin with. Like they were consistently structured. They had all the information that required. We were good on capturing edge cases, use cases, rationale. We were good on capturing behavior. We were really good on getting the things that were sitting in the minds of people onto paper. We were
Beautiful.
we were really good at that. When we ran our experiments, minus maybe just a few fields that needed to be captured, the machines, the LLMs really understood. The documentation was pretty understandable to the I would say maybe 80% of the way. When I think about what needed to change for the docs that I was writing specifically to be able to be readable by humans and usable by AI, it's just a matter of two or three different fields. And I can tell you what those were. We weren't probably capturing tokens in the right way. We weren't
Yeah.
really writing accessibility in a structured way. It was more prose. It was more about like, it was just like gentle talk about it. It wasn't as specific as it needed to be. And so when I realized that the way that I was structuring it was good enough and working, I thought I might be able to create a standard, a template that could that anybody, any team could use to be able to create a single author doc that would serve humans and AI and whatever else is in between that. I
Whatever
don't know.
else is coming. Yeah. It's such a theme of this stuff. And as we're putting our like AI and design systems course together, and our friend TJ Petrie is like, the way he describes it is like, there's like the check engine light. And it's like for a lot of the work that T's have been doing over the years, just like you were saying, whenever ChatGPT hit the scene, and it's like starting to like do that work of like authoring like the basic, button documentation and whatever, and then you're like, wait, what's like my job? It's like, oh, it turns out that there's like that's just the table stakes stuff. That's not the stuff that is like that's not your value
Yeah.
as a really like intelligent person. Like you understand like the terrain, the landscape, how these things are getting used. That stuff is ultimately, I don't want to say chore work, but it's table stakes work that is like kind of like, again, address the check engine light, where it's like if you have a bunch of gaps, like if you're not past Afyia that's already structuring things really well and providing a lot of like context, if it's just like, oh, we got to hunt all these different people down to find out
Yeah.
why these things are the way they are, it's like doing that work and getting that stuff in place is really the table stakes work, so that you're able to move on to the parts where you're like, cool, here's us actually wielding all of this stuff
Yeah.
together to do useful things with it. And this is what I'm seeing, and would love to get your take on it, is like there's a form of liberation that is happening, that is like freeing people up to be able to sort of like move closer to one another, be more connected, because we're no longer just like, drawing the rectangles and manually describing what those rectangles do.
I felt a lot of what you're saying or learned about a lot of that. Just, I worked with a team a while ago where they did all that work and they worked in that way where, engineering just sat on their side and designers just sat on their side and there was duplication everywhere. Also, no one agreed on a lot of things. And I came on board to help navigate the documentation. And I was just like, hey, let's do something. Just take the simple Google Doc. I'm just going to draft what I think you did, engineer, and what I think you did, designer. And we're all going to get into this Google Doc and hash it out. And that was such a huge moment for me and my role as a documentation person. I'm not just copying what they did anymore or waiting for them to finish. I'm orchestrating a little bit,
Yeah.
right? I am like now at the top and saying, hey, what you guys have in places doesn't really align. Let's get together and figure this thing out. Now that you think you've drawn a square or a button or a rectangle and they're saying you didn't, and they're
Yeah.
calling it something else and you're calling it this, what's really going on here? I
Yeah.
wrote something up about it. It's in my portfolio. It's called Written in the Margins. And it literally is. I threw in all the screenshots of the Google Doc with all of these comments from all the different players, all the different people on the team. And I think one of the discussions was just the naming. It was liberating. It was fun. It was interesting. It was also really hard work. It was getting people aligned on the same page. And the starting point for all of this really was just a documentation. Just
Yeah.
let's write down what's in your brain, what you are thinking, what you meant, what this thing really does, what it's about, why did you do it, and let's just move from there. And so documentation moves from just being descriptive, right? It's definitely a clarifier, but maybe it's also the definition of done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe when docs are done, we're done.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we call that. Maybe that's how we should think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe not, not done in the sense that it's the last thing. It shouldn't be. It should be parallel in what design and dev is doing, but it should be the thing that once it's written down and once we have all of the reasoning behind the what and the why, now we're done. This is a written record of a thing. It's readable by the next person coming in. It stands the test of time. You can reference it. You know that a human wrote it because whatever. If you have a special person or someone like me, I wrote it. I was
Yeah.
there. I was in the
Yeah, yeah,
room.
yeah. Yeah.
All the things. I'm
But not
sorry.
only did you write it, you facilitated the process,
Yeah.
right? Like so what you're doing is like through this lens of it's just like let's like zoom out real quick because everybody's been in their own unique weeds. Let's get together. Let's just like zoom out the whole way out, which doesn't happen often enough.
No.
And when you get company cultures where these people are one another, working past one another, and there's all sorts of friction that emerges, you're there to like help capture what the truth is, what the story of this thing is. You need to arrive at that truth, and what is articulated in the documentation is needs to be true. And
Yeah.
when there isn't that shared truth, that's where the problems emerge. And I think that this is something that I'm seeing play out writ large here is that this new era, the teams and the organizations that have that shared sense of here's what true is, or a shared narrative of like here's what this is and here's what it does and whatever, but all of those little cross-disciplinary differences or cross-group differences or yep, like we do this but we don't agree with them, that stuff is amplified big
Oh yeah.
time in this new era. So it's like if everybody is pointed in these different directions, all AI is doing is just kind of exacerbating
Yeah.
those different directions. But for the teams and the orgs that are like, ah, yes, like we all are using the same names, we all have the same sort of shared reality. This now amplifies that alignment, and that just like kind of takes different forms, whether it's prose or a Figma button or it's something in code or whatever. But ultimately, this stuff is a shared agreement between humans on like, is this how we do things or is this
Yeah.
not how we do things? Like it requires that human work. The designers are
Hmm.
going to be stung
Oh
because
yeah.
they actually had a good reason for doing things a certain way, but they just you need to have that shared understanding, and
Yeah.
that's the gig.
That's right. And that's
Beautiful.
why I think I've been pushing for that my entire career, right? There really isn't a lot of us. I think I only know one other person that has done documentation as a documentation person on a design system team
Yeah.
as their sole focus.
Yeah.
But honestly, and today, if you're again an organization that has a design system and you're wanting to build it with AI or have AI agents access it, you probably want to think about having someone that whose focus is on writing this documentation because it's more than just writing.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is more than just like describing a thing. It's focused, the gathering of information, it's the facilitating of teams, it's honoring the things that people think are important and allowing them to come to an agreement on it. And then putting all that shit to paper
Yeah.
and then putting all of those things to paper and structuring it in a way that it's navigable and clear and understandable and
Yeah.
usable. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And to sort of come back to how we started this conversation, I think that your the attitude, your attitude of optimism, of hope, of curiosity, of exploration, all of that comes online like in that work, right? Like it's your demeanor, like in your attitude and how you show up as like a human to facilitate that stuff, like that could go really poorly
Oh
if
yeah.
you like show up going, hey, you're wrong and like we need to like fight this out. Like could you
Yeah.
speak a little bit to like the showing up, the
Yeah.
human side of like being like, ooh, like okay, like here's a little mess I like found, but like this is going to be fun for us to like finally get into it, like you said, like in the margins and stuff, like
I just try to have an unbiased opinion about anything. And I think my method of maybe drafting just nothing fancy. We're not even picking a platform or a tool that we're not in Figma and we're not in Storybook. We are in a Google Doc, right? Plain blank page, right? No one, you guys don't have any problems with that, right?
Yeah.
Everything's great. And I'll just draft a set of basic usage guidance for a component. This is what we're calling it. This is what it does. All right, let's start from here. This is the starting point. Let's figure out what now, if there's a discrepancy with naming. I mean, there's been a discrepancy with a button, the naming of a button. It was a button, but even then I have to check myself and say, okay, we'll just figure out what they're calling this thing and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, when are you using this thing? Why are you using it this way? Just asking really in-depth, and also not leading the conversation, but allowing the conversations to take place.
Yes.
And
Yes.
just questions. I do that asynchronously because I like to meet people where they are. We don't have to all get in the same room together. Here is the draft that I wrote. When you guys have a chance, take a look at it. Start dropping in your comments. And then when it gets a little too hairy, maybe we can get together in a room and
Yeah.
talk this thing out.
Yeah.
And that's worked. And I managed to, document a 60 component design system along with about maybe foundational guidance and accessibility and just design principles and what this system is, just all the things related to this design system.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting those important holes filled that, again, just like kind of bringing this back to how we're framing our course is like, yeah, man, that like you got to get that sorted like yesterday because we got bigger fish to fry. And I think that a lot of the teams that we're seeing are feeling that pressure of, I think that there's kind of like an industry or like leadership level pressure to kind of be like, we got to move, like we got to be like
Yeah.
using this stuff. And like
Yeah.
a lot of like the teams that don't have that kind of core center of gravity in place yet, or still have those kinds of like, man, you got to sort that out because we got places to go.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the fun is now,
Mhm.
so it's like, so doing that gory work is hard, it's thoughtful, it needs to be curated, it needs to be facilitated, and like that is really, it's like a cool transition out of what feels like the bulk of your kind of past
Yeah.
work is like,
Yes.
okay, like let's just like get this stuff like defined and get that in there, and you have like a deep expertise in arriving at that, and now you're able to like kind of help places like go
Yeah.
cool places
Yeah.
with it.
Yes. It's a really cool transition and I like it here, to be honest. I like that it's not grunt work actually. I just like that work. As much as I love writing and in the past may have loved the heads down work just because of my personality. I feel like I'm a little bit introverted and I just love getting at it. But it's far more meaningful to be able to explain the decisions of the engineering team or of designers, to explain those decisions and make those things clear, not just to users of the system, but to them, to each other. And
Yes.
that feels so good for me.
That's amazing. I want to pick at that because I think that what you just described of like the like kind of introverted tendencies, I think like we've seen that in a lot of different, again, back to like the kind of insular or inward facing kind of design systems people. I think that if people are like, oh, just like, yeah, let me put my headphones on and I'm just going to be like sweating the details of this uh token system or whatever it is for the next few weeks, and you know
Yeah.
hold my calls, I'll be like in my happy place, just kind of head down doing that. You're now able to move towards more of like a social and a collaborative kind of environment, and you're able to spend more time there because the mechanical parts of the drafting and the writing are a little bit more efficient. So you're able to exercise your collaborative and communicative powers in this way. Has that been like a shift? Introvert versus extrovert, some of that
Oh,
stuff's
yeah.
like pretty hardwired.
I think honestly in the beginning, the heads down work was just by nature how everyone else was working. They didn't really, being brought on at the end of when components are completed or code is already written, doesn't really allow room for me to other than maybe initial user interviews and talking, doesn't allow room for folks to collaborate with me on docs. A lot of folks are really very scared to write. They are intimidated by the process and they'd rather just, or they don't like it, and they'd rather just have someone come in and do that work.
Yeah.
And, as much as I tried to maybe push back on some of that and get some collaboration, it didn't happen. And I think I fell into that groove of just, all right, I'll just write. I'll just write it. It's no big deal. I love it anyway. But not now. That's long gone. That is not full anymore. I think this is or meaningful, and that doesn't like make me happy to work in that way. I truly think that, the part about being in working on design systems and working in a design system team is the collaboration part. It's what I love.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like a value now for me. With any company or any organization that I'm working with in the future, I need that kind of community, that collaboration, that
Yeah.
connection. I need to
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. That's 100%, I think, where things need to go. And again, it kind of coming back to these kind of old processes, or like this old, oh yeah, we're misaligned and here's these like divides between designers and developers. I think that like one of the biggest things that I'm so jazzed about is the ability to have time together be actually like productive and useful, right? The fact that we're just able to like transcribe what we're talking about, and because it's like being transcribed into words, and then we're able to like put those words to use, and we're able to like you said with like that Google Doc where it's like, okay, like let's like get together here. What do we agree on? Like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, that
Uh-huh.
we check, right? Like that.
Yes.
We came
Yeah.
to this agreement on that. This is our collective understanding of this, and we were able to do that not by passing a freaking Jira ticket back and forth to each other,
Thank
but we were
God.
able to just like get together as humans
Yeah.
do and converse and talk and
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, yeah, like that sounds good. And oh, yeah, here's the rationale behind this. And oh, cool. Now all of a sudden that's captured, that gets thrown into the pile, into the
Yeah.
stew. All of a sudden, our humanity is back, right? We've had these artificial separations, right? That
Mhm.
this Henry Ford assembly line that, and you described it perfectly. You're just, you're trying to do your part. You're trying to be respectful of existing processes. You're not, through my own kind of consulting work over the years, usually quite deferential to how people are working. And so that means that I've been plugged into a whole bunch of lousy processes. And now I'm just like, great, we could get the designers, the developers, the QA engineers, the business analysts, the like everybody, like just get everybody in the room together and let's collectively paint a picture of what we want. And that just kind of comes out as language, and that
Yeah.
docs first approach that you're sort of talking about
That's
helps
right.
set the stage for anything that gets implemented. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild. And
It
I'm
sure
so
is.
here for it. I'm so here for it.
Yeah, I feel like this idea that I'm proposing, or this thing that we're talking about, I don't even know what it is, an idea, a methodology, I don't know, but I feel like Docs First does bring the humans, keeps the humans in the loop, and it brings us closer.
Yep.
Whereas I think what I'm seeing is the humans are being pushed out, or they're now all of a sudden, am I a designer? Well, what am I now? Am I an AI wrangler? I'm not doing what I love anymore, and I feel like let's not do that to people if they don't want to do that. What do you think, Brad? Do you think there's room for everyone at the table, the humans and the robots? I think so. No, sort
Yeah.
of. I
Yeah.
think
I
so.
like leaning into this, like, how do we really embrace more of our full humanity rather than being relegated to, ah, yes, this person does this mechanical part of the
Yeah.
process. I think that has always been sad, right? You have a bunch of really talented designers, you have a bunch of really talented developers, you have a bunch of really talented people who are living their lives, who come from certain backgrounds, who have specific hobbies, who have specific interests. And all of that just gets kind of lopped off and lobotomized because you are doing this specific role in this
Yeah.
specific like lens. And the richness of the rest of life, right? it gets left at the door. And that's been sad. And I see that as we sort of like are able to come together more, we're able to sort of weave more, like all of that other richness to our lives, and how our perspectives and philosophies on things and all of that stuff. Like we're able to bring a lot more of that to the table, and that actually kind of gets put in the stew. It's no longer just like the, again, just the you are a factory worker that's just like punching widgets all day. We're able to sort of exercise more of our human judgment, more of our full selves. There's a big difference between specialty, right? You're a doc specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and are expert in that, and I'm always going to trust you to like own or think deeper about that stuff than I am going to, right? But then
Right.
like everybody collectively brings their own expertise, and that's the beauty of diversity. That's the beauty of like this coming together where it's like everybody in aggregate could tell the complete story. No one person has the full story, and
Yeah.
it's that getting together that creates that sort of shared narrative of what it is we're doing. And so all of those different life paths, all of those different, I've been at the company for 50, I mean, you know this, right? You've like interviewed so many people that are the, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let me tell you about why that is the way it is. That
Mm-hmm.
stuff matters, right? And that person knows where the bodies are buried. This other person knows like where we're trying to go. And you bring it all into one place, so then you're able to like sort of actually do stuff with it. And it's
Yeah.
just it's just so much healthier than this like weird game of kind of connect the dots, or just kind of pass the PDF off to become a Figma comp, and then pass that off to become code, and then pass that off to be documented after the
Uh-huh.
fact. Is
This is
yeah,
great. This is so
yeah,
great to chat with you. I've been in my head about a lot of this stuff, but it's so great to talk about it,
yeah.
you know?
I'm fascinated hearing your experience, because again, it's like you being a specialist is hard, and like I would love to just like hear from you about that, because you've always like kind of leaned into that. You're like, yeah, I do documentation, like that is like a pretty big like part of like your identity. Like I guess like
Yeah.
in this chapter now, where like the future is wide open now, like do you
Yeah.
still feel like that is something you're like leaning into, or you just kind of like, you know what, like this is a time to, I moved to a new city and I'm gonna call myself Nicole all of a sudden? Like that. And I know people have done that. Like I know people have just like, you know what, clean slate,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, you know, that was the old me. Here's like my new me. I'm curious to get your take on like how you like identify yourself, or how you see your identity changing, or your specialty changing in any way.
Sure. Yeah, this is a great question because I've kind of been just even in like the job search, right? Just trying to understand who am I now, or and what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? I'm still exploring the landscape. I know that documentation is a specialty of mine. It's near and dear to my heart. It's a thing that I love to do. I've done it many times over. Maybe it's time to start branching out into something else. Maybe it's not just design systems work, you know? Maybe it's knowledge-based work. Maybe it's knowledge-based architecture. Maybe it's AI agent architecture. Maybe it's a conversational designer, right? Which is language, which is feeding the agents written language, how they, it's just there's a lot of different areas that I can explore, and I'm open to all of that. Um, yes,
That's
that's my
beautiful.
answer.
There's the certain activities that you do, but then there's kind of like something underneath that, which is you're like, oh, I like language. I like kind of wrangling things, structuring
Hmm.
things, making sense of things. And knowing that about yourself allows you to then sort of look into the future and go, okay, I have these tendencies and I enjoy these types of things, and I understand why I gravitate towards those things. And that opens the door to being able to apply those gifts to different things, including things that didn't exist before. Because like your son, for instance, is like, as he goes out into the world and over the years, which is kind of crazy, it's like that future is unknown, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're not going to be like, I'm going to be a design system documentarian like forever. I'm going to be, a doctor, and that's going to be my entire career, and nothing's
Yeah.
ever going to change. That just ain't the case anymore, right? Like that's not
No.
how modern life works. So it's like you seem to have a good understanding of it's like, yes, like here's where I've been. Here's the types of things and the type of attributes that I have that could be applied to this thing that I've done historically. But now you're able to kind of like pull that down and like kind of hang out and like you're closer to your like true self and then go, okay, cool. Well, then how can I apply my talents, skills, tendencies to this new world?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a stranger to turning over a new leaf and starting over in something else. I was in the
Clearly.
telecommunications industry. Yeah, I was that. I did telecommunications for 20 years, and then I became a UX designer. And I did
Amazing.
that for a few years, and then I fell in love with documentation and honed in on design system work and really loved that. And in every phase of that, I looked at what it is that I really liked and enjoyed doing and what I was good at and kind of aligned it to the next move.
That's
And so,
beautiful.
right now, I happen to be looking for the next thing for myself, and I'm, kind of looking at inwardly at all the things that I really like to do and seeing what's out there. And I'm telling you, it's vast. There's a lot of opportunity. There's so many different ways that I can move and grow and learn, and I'm happy to do all of those things. So yeah, I'm optimistic about my next phase or my next the next thing that I've been called to do. Yeah.
I love everything that you're saying, and again, it comes back to that optimistic attitude, and it is that like kind of scarcity mindset that it's just like, oh crap, like the thing that I'm historically used to, even if it does still exist, it's in a different shape than it once was. But
Yeah.
for a lot of folks, and we've seen this, and I'm seeing this play out in a lot of people, is this, oh crap, like this thing that I've historically done is no longer the thing that
Yeah.
is paying the bills.
What do I do now? Yeah.
What do I do now? And I think
Yeah.
you just described it perfectly. So like how do you have any advice? Like, because again, like you're in it. Like this isn't just like hypothetical. Like you are like
Yeah.
literally like at this moment, and there's a lot of people in this boat as well. Like, do you have advice for people who are looking to kind of like escape, kind of reframe how they exist in this kind of weird
Yeah.
nebulous like ether?
I don't, I'm only going to say what works for me because I think, my set of circumstances of course, they're unique to me. I need, I, you know, is it hard to move on from something you've always known and a routine and, the safety of a great paycheck and a team that you love, a director that you adore and the work that you adore? Yes. And you're hoping that you can find it somewhere else. But I need to motivate myself and say, maybe it's not going to be the work that I was doing before. Maybe I can have that same love somewhere else. And the key there is aligning all of the things that I am really great at doing and seeing what company or what organization or whomever, hiring manager, is interested in that stuff. And that's part of talking to you. I really love the chat that we have because this is me sharing who I am to whoever is interested and whoever is thinking about things in the same way that I am. I'm
Yeah.
not, I don't need to hide behind who I was before. I'm saying plainly, this is what I love doing. These are my set of skill sets. I'm a little introverted. Well, and sometimes I talk a lot. I might overshare. I've got a teenager. I've got, life things happening, but also I have great work ethic. I not only created a documentation role in Epic that was not there before. By the way, I'm one of those people that love roles that have no precedent. I love sitting in the thing that's ambiguous and
Yeah.
making it my own. I don't know, it's
Beautiful.
just the thing that I love to do, whatever. I'm just using what I have to be motivated to take on this job search. It is not easy. It is a feat. It might take a while, but I'm sure that there is something out there for me. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's a team that is looking to work with someone that is as passionate about this kind of work as I am.
That's so beautiful. I like that last word, like passionate. It's like that. I could attest to that as like seeing that like kind of up close and personal. It's like that is not resume speak. That is like live stuff. But I think that you're you're touching on. It's like you have core values. You have like specific things. You have like a good sense of like it sounds like a self awareness and an understanding and a trust in yourself
Yeah.
that allows you to sort of like go out into the kind of brave unknown and into kind of like a scary thing that is really necessary, and a lot of people are in this boat again. But that willingness to really like lean into it to the point of being inventive with it, where it's just like, ah,
Yeah.
yes, I'm able to like see a need, and here's the stuff that I'm so passionate about, and it doesn't yet exist, so I'm going to create it. That's freaking beautiful, and I wish that more people would do that,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people are still just kind of hanging out, waiting for these roles to kind of fall out of the sky. And in this age, boy, oh boy, everything is just literally being just unearthed, and all new ground and terrain is being laid like every single day. So being able to like cultivate that attitude that you just described so perfectly, it's like this this is a thing. This
Yeah.
should be a thing. It's
Yeah.
not a thing right now. Like let's make it a thing. It's important, and we all need this in order to be successful. Like that's like a real skill unto itself. Because with that in mind, you could kind of go into any landscape, any fast forward 5 years from now or whatever. There's going to be yet more new stuff going on,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to like invent yet another new
Oh
role
yeah.
and get into it, right? So
Yeah.
that's a real skill to cultivate.
Well, thank you. I didn't think of it as a skill, but maybe it is. And I think there's a little risk in that too, right? It's risky to like be, hired for one thing and come in and do something completely different, and that they really love it, and they see the value of it, and then you're
Yeah,
there doing that thing. I don't know. I don't mind being that person. I don't mind living in that space for a little bit. I don't mind being in an ambiguous role, and just kind of like forging the path and showing you the value of it. I think that's why I really like our chat, because it just allows me to, it's kind of like me, instead of me going on LinkedIn and rifling through jobs and applying, I am advertising. I am saying, hey, this is a thing.
yeah,
Make it a thing and
yeah,
hire me to do that thing.
yeah. And
Yeah,
and to give permission to other people to do the
that's
same.
right.
I think that that's the other thing, and like you like bringing this all, I think like back to your son, and like I have such like an admiration for you raising your boy, like doing
Thank you.
all of this stuff, doing whatever is like required in order to like, you know,
Yeah.
like make life work, and have him be sort of healthy and happy and on a good path. It's like you have to be resourceful and inventive and willing to brave that stuff.
Sure.
It's like a real inspiration that like for be proud of that for your own sake. But I also think that there's like a lot that people can learn from your experience there, to be able to like look at a bunch of hard, to be in it, but still be like, yep, we're gonna go out there, gonna find something, and if that something doesn't exist, we're gonna invent it, and we're gonna like make it work. Like that's stunning. That's like
Yeah.
really stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah. This has been great. Like, thank you so much for chatting. And the only other structure to this show is I would love to know what music you would like more people to know about. Could be some old gold, could be what you're digging in this moment right now.
Well, it's definitely going to be music people know, and it might be a controversial person, and it's only come up because I plan on watching the movie. I know it might not be great, but I'm a fan. I love Michael Jackson, and I'm going
Yeah.
to see the Michael Jackson movie. And I've been playing his old, well, not his old stuff, his music. I would like for people to go back to that Off the Wall album. That
Yeah.
is by far, in my opinion, his best body of work.
Yeah.
Undebatable. Like, don't, this is it. You cannot sway me. Um, and I just want to say also, it brought me back in prepping, listening to the music and prepping for the movie, brought me back to my love of buying movie soundtracks, which, first of all, I love music, and I have a CD collection of over 1,000 CD, and I collect vinyl as well.
Oh yeah.
But it brought me back to, when I was younger and I got my weekly paycheck and I would run off to the record store, Tower Records in New York City, Soho. They were
Yeah.
a two-story building. I go up there and buy my CDs, and that would just be, it would just, it, music is a timestamp, first of all.
Yeah.
It just brings me back to a moment. And I love being able to do that. Streaming and all that other shit killed it for me. There's no more of that. There's no more record stores. But anyway, Michael Jackson movie's coming out. I'm listening to his music. I listen to Bad. I listen to Thriller. I listen to Off the Wall, and I'm continuing to listen to it, and you guys should too.
Amazing. Amazing. I think I hard agree that it's like
Yeah.
that specific album is stunning, but it's like, man, oh man, like just some of like the tightest and just it's high art pop
Yeah.
music. And that
Yeah.
is it is truly stunning. And that is what's like so challenging about like his I was even kind of talking about that through the lens of AI stuff where it's just like because in the world of AI there's a lot of like here's some
Yeah.
like really like questionable or like dodgy things, but at the same time there's like a lot of you can't take
Yeah.
the fact that Off the Wall is just like some of the best music that humankind has ever produced, and like you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to be able to like sit with that and still
Yeah.
be able to like recognize the music for the true art that it is, while also not
Yeah.
trying to like we could wish the other stuff away, but you could also just kind of be like, yeah, it's a little that's hard, but that's like the kind of like nuanced kind of world that we
Yeah.
live in and stuff. But it's like
Yeah.
the art itself is just like, my God, so
Yeah.
freaking good. If you had to put yourself back in that Tower Records, like what like aside from maybe that record, what other CDs do you like have like a vivid memory of buying at that
Oh.
store in Soho?
Oh, Brad. Oh, I mean, Tower Records was like, I was probably in my 20s, so I loved rap music, loved it. And I bought all my, all the knowns and unknowns. There was a lot of underground music. There was a lot of local rappers from the neighborhood or from Brooklyn, where I was born and raised. I'm also a Jamaican American. I'm a first generation American. So there's a reggae, I have a, reggae culture as well. So those are the things that I would go to Tower Records and buy. And I remember it vividly. It's a core memory for me because Tower Records was just like an icon in Soho. And it was the only place you could go and buy your music. And there was a ritual or routine for me every Friday, every payday on Friday, I would go and spend all my money. I'd be broke by then, by the time I left that place. Yeah, and I still have my CD collection, and I think I still remember all the moments I bought each CD. Like I remember my very first CD, and I remember where I was when I bought this CD, and who I was dating, or whatever the case
Yeah,
may be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That's just what
it's that
music
time
does.
capsule. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
what
just
was
what
it?
it
What
does.
was your first CD?
My first CD was Escape. It's an R&B group. I can't remember the name of. I think it's called Who Can You Run To, or Who Can I Run To. And then
Yeah.
after that, my third CD was Lauryn Hill's Miseducation.
My God,
Um,
what an
oh,
album!
oh my
What an
God.
album!
What?
That one
Yeah,
was just. I,
yeah.
I think that's a perfect album. Yeah,
Beginning
all
to
the
end,
skits and stuff. Like, and sometimes like
everything,
skits like in between. Like, I
everything.
miss that part of like you're totally right that like streaming has like really messed with
Yeah,
things and just like singles in general. But like the skits on that album are so good, and it just all it's coherent. It's the glue. It really
yeah,
ties the songs together into this this coherent narrative, which is a nice like meta bow on this conversation. But
Yeah.
that album specifically is like, I think that it's, I would classify that one as like a genuinely like perfect album. Like
It's a
there
perfect
are no
album. It's a
skips.
classic album. And you know that it's classic because it's, I think, 30 years later now that, and she's still doing that music. She can still go and do that in concert, and we'll all
Yeah.
spend thousands of dollars to go and see her. And so
Yeah.
it's definitely stood the test of time.
Yeah. And like even whenever it came out, it had a timelessness to it because it was
Yeah.
so like throwback to that like kind of Motown doo wop like kind of stuff like there's like a real understanding, like a deep understanding of like
Yeah.
her place in music, and the fact that she's able to like carry that forward even now is really amazing. So
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah, so that was your third
Yeah,
record.
my third.
Jeez. So yeah, so obviously like over the course of this conversation, it's like where could people get in touch with you? Like if people are resonating with you, you're looking for work, like where could they go to find out more about you, follow along with you with your thinking, your writing and
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Afyia Smith. I have my portfolio. It's afyasmith.co because someone is holding afyasmith.com hostage, and I refuse to pay them $5,000 for it. So yeah, that's where I am. If you want to email me, it's the same thing, my first and last name at Gmail.
amazing.
That's pretty much all the channels. I'm not on social media. Honestly, if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the job search, I wouldn't be on LinkedIn either.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
that's the
you're
truth.
in good company there, but yeah, but I do think that like this moment in time, but just in general, I think that having your own website, even if it's not the ideal domain, you'll get it one day, I promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, having your own website, good idea for all the job searchers I think out there. But also, yeah, checking you out on LinkedIn and connecting with you there.
Yeah.
Definitely encourage people to do that. And again, just knowing you over the years and knowing how skilled and gifted you are, and above all, just like what a great person you are. It's like boy oh boy, are you a wonderful addition to literally like any team. So I
Thank
really
you.
I know that you're going to land in a good spot. And in the meantime, best of luck navigating all the things.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brett. Thank you for having me on today.
Okay. All right. Take care.
You too.